is a helmet of one of the astronauts. It was found in San Augustine, I believe, just southwest of Nacogdoches. It was found, ironically, in a cemetery, along with a lot of other debris from the space shuttle.
Not far from there, they were finding human remains as well. That's been confirmed. A hospital worker was going to work and ran across some of this material, and was then confirmed by a deputy, we understand, in the same area, and that has been picked up too. And I suspect that we'll be finding ever more pieces of this material. It's going to be spread over such a wide area. We know that there are roughly, excuse me, about 600 sites now where they've been picking up debris. And now, go ahead, Karen.
As darkness approaches, the search for this debris will have to come to an end, although I do understand that the Army has special helicopters that they will send out, presumably with infrared technology, and the search will probably likely continue for many more days and weeks.
President Bush was at Camp David this morning when all of this took place, and he was briefed immediately by his staff, and then he went back to Washington, and he had also contacted family members who were down at the Kennedy Space Station. We understand they either have already departed to go back to Houston or soon will be. NASA has been protecting them, understandably, asking the media to try to give them their space in this very important time of grieving. But after he'd visited with the family members, the president had this comment for the nation.
These men and women assumed great risk in the service to all humanity. In an age when space flight has come to seem almost routine, it is easy to overlook the dangers of travel by rocket and the difficulties of navigating the fierce outer atmosphere of the Earth. These astronauts knew the dangers, and they faced them willingly, knowing they had a high and noble purpose in life. Because of their courage and daring and idealism, we will miss them all the more.
This was the president addressing the nation several hours ago. And we were talking a little bit about the astronauts earlier. Kalpana Chawla, who immigrated to the United States from India in the 1980s. She earned her master's degree at UTA in aerospace engineering in 1984. She had said at the time that she wanted to design aircraft, that the space program was the furthest thing from her mind. She could never, she didn't want to dream that high. It was just out of the realm of expectation for her. And one thing led to another, though. She was chosen as an astronaut after working at NASA's Ames Research Center and Overset Methods in Northern California. And this must have been a dream come true.
Well, here are some of the statistics, too, on Dr. Chawla. We're assuming that's the proper pronunciation. C-H-A-W-L-A, as you can see. I suppose it could be pronounced Chawla, but I think that's an S-H sound, Kalpana Chawla. And this was her second shuttle mission, and as Karen has been pointing out, had an MS in aerospace engineering from UT Arlington, then went on later to get her doctorate elsewhere. I understand that Cliff Caldwell has more information, too, from right here close to home. Cliff.
We are still here in northern Johnson County. We're just across a train track from Burleson. On top of that train track, you can see over my shoulder, two officers, or rather sergeants, from Naval Air Station in Fort Worth, Carswell Air Base, have showed up. What they've done is they've actually moved us. Now, if we come back here to me, you'll see us. What they've done is they've constructed this police line here, and they moved us back, 10 to 20 feet. And what they told us was, we don't know exactly why, we don't know how hazardous this is, but we want to move this back. Hazardous materials teams have told them move everybody back. They said, well, I asked him, is it stable? Is it volatile once it's on the ground? He said, I suspect it's probably stable, but what we've been told is move everybody back. So that's what they've done. Right now, they're on top of the tracks. Most of the material is on the west side of this Burlington-Santa Fe northern track that runs right along the town marker of Burleson. On the other side, they're actually in the city of Burleson. There's a very small bit of debris. Now, we showed it to you a little bit earlier. It's orange and white, possibly red, a foamy material. Appears to be off the side of the shuttle, described as tiles, as you can see on the ground there. Not an awful lot of it, but it's spread over an area about the size of an automobile. They are relatively small pieces, but they're spread over the ground. There's one of them that you can clearly see a number on. It's number 136. It was noticed by a neighbor at about 10:45 this morning, 13-year-old Rachel Berry. She and her family were going out doing the usual things you do on Saturday. She noticed a little bit of smoke, but as they crossed the railroad tracks and drove away, they didn't see it, so she didn't think much of it until they got back home and began looking at the news. That's when her and her dad went back out. They investigated it. The father described it as being very lightweight but foamy and extremely hard. He suspected it was material from the shuttle, called the authorities, and they've been here working on it ever since. Now, this is a changing situation. Earlier we said the county is expected to pick it up. I talked to the Burleson Public Information Officer, and she said no, the county's team is going to pick it up. So at this point, rather FEMA is going to pick it up, and actually the county is babysitting until either FEMA or NASA comes by to pick it up. So we don't know who's going to actually do the picking up, but we do know that county, state, and now federal authorities are here watching this until people come in to remove this from the area. Again, people have been pushed back 10 to 20 feet away from it for safety's sake. They wanted to keep people as far away as possible. Don't know if it is a hazard blowing, but they do know they don't want people near it. Mr. Berry, Mr. James Berry, who actually found it, said he used his stick to kind of flip it over, and he said he noticed it was very charred in the middle, black and hard, but didn't touch it and didn't seem to be any activity. There wasn't any smoking. I asked him, I said, when you looked at it, did it look as though it had an imprint when it made impact with the ground? And he said, no, it's a very lightweight material, and that didn't appear to be the case. So they are investigating it. As you can see it, they're photographing it. They've been taking some measurements. They are up there looking at it, analyzing it, and presumably it will at some point in time be taken away, but we don't know exactly when that is or how it will be done. Again, county, state, federal people are here, even the city of Burleson, all looking at it, securing the area, keeping people back to prevent any potential contamination from hazardous materials. There are very volatile, very dangerous, rather, chemicals involved with the propulsion of the shuttle, and they want to keep people back, make sure that no toxic contamination occurs to anyone who has touched it or handled it, and also because this may be an investigation that they need to find out information, and if everybody's poking at it and prodding at it, you don't know what's the good stuff until after the fact, and they want to preserve it as much as they can. So these are probably both of the reasons why they want to preserve these scenes as much as they can, get as much information about it, analyze both the debris, how the debris fell down, the same as they do in any other accident investigation. You've got to reconstruct it, and you have to take extremely small things and read into it, use the science that's known from past accidents, either the shuttle accident or other aircraft accidents, and try to reconstruct what happened, how it got here, and what can be read into this. As we've seen from various disasters over the past few years, forensic science is phenomenal in terms of what they can get out of this information, and that clearly is what these folks are going to have to do with that. So at this point, as you can see, in the background, it's being watched. There are the soldiers from the Naval Air Station here. The county is here. There have been the state police. They have moved on to other sites, and at this point they're just watching this. This county perhaps has not been the busiest. We earlier were told that the state patrol officer assigned to this area had gotten 2. We now found out it's actually been 4. They say they've had a couple of dozen calls, but only a few of them have actually panned out. Reporting live in Johnson County, I'm Cliff Caldwell, CBS 11 News.
Thank you, Cliff. This debris that we know of has already been found over a 500 square mile area, and it actually could expand out to about 3 times that, according to Jim Crow. He's the director of the Emergency Geospatial Mapping Center at Stephen Austin State University in Nacogdoches.
We are joined now by Dr. Dan Keyes. He is the director of North Texas Poison Center. He joins us now from our newsroom. Dr. Keyes, I understand you've gotten some calls from pretty concerned residents.
Well, yes, we've received actually quite a few calls. We've received over 100 calls, mostly from parts of East Texas, from Tyler, Nacogdoches, Athens, and Palestine, and other areas around the expected site of impact.
And what is their concern?
You know, most people seem to be concerned about the chemicals that could be involved. We are the Poison Center, and so we provide that kind of information. And so we've had reports of a few people having some symptoms, mostly though nothing very serious, actually just a few people with coughs and upper respiratory types of problems.
Well, I don't know why it would be considered your area of expertise to know what kinds of materials are in the shuttle. So did you get in touch with NASA to try to answer some of these questions and find out what you might have charge of a little bit later on?
Well, that's really a good question, a good point, Tracy. Well, actually, we have been in touch with NASA, both NASA and Texas Department of Health and the ATSDR, which is a chemical exposure agency, federal government, have been keeping us informed, and they also have tried to keep in touch in case they need to consult us since we are in the region. And they've pretty much given us the insight of which chemicals they think might be involved, and right now, of course, they don't feel that there's very large potential for risk because you know, the objects entered through the atmosphere at such a high rate, and it was 200,000 feet up, and in addition to that, the temperatures were so high that we can be pretty confident there was very little, if any, chemicals that still remain or were not destroyed by the burning of the objects going through the atmosphere.
Well, I think that one of the other things that we'd heard a little bit earlier, and I think that perhaps you've already answered this for us, was that even some of this material, I guess, in its freshly applied state, we'll say, if they were just putting the shuttle together, could actually kill you immediately. I mean, it was that toxic.
Well, yes, some of the chemicals that are used, such as hydrazine, which is propellant or rocket fuel, if you will, do have some toxicity if you were to be exposed to them or if you were to drink them, for example. In other words, a very large, close exposure. But again, we don't think that this will be an issue because of the fact that it went through the atmosphere and the very high temperatures that you can be very confident that these were removed on the way in. But I think the common sense advice that we would like to provide at this point is, if you see an object, obviously don't go near it, don't go and touch it or pick it up. We actually have a report of someone doing that earlier in the day, but we understand that most people are not. Just stay away from it, and you should have no problem at all.
And that certainly, we echo that. But the people that you were referring about, the people you mentioned had some problems with upper respiratory, are these people who actually came in contact with some of the debris, or is this something that, I don't want to use the word psychosomatic, but maybe just the fear out there because the field was a few miles from where they live?
Sure. Well, Karen, I don't have the actual details about that, but I do understand that just a report of a family was driving by and they thought they were exposed to, or they sensed they were being exposed to some sort of chemical, and they went into the emergency department and were checked out. And I understand they've been released at this point, but I don't have any further details on that. It seems that really there are no serious injuries being reported up to this point in time.
Well, and some of this debris, though, Doctor, had hit over at Sam Rayburn and Lake Palestine. Is there any concern about what it might do to water quality?
We think, again, it's sort of the same issue, the quantities that remain. When you think about what happened when it just went through the atmosphere, through 200,000 feet of the atmosphere, and then, of course, the very, very high temperatures. We're all learning about this today as we talk about how shuttles re-enter the atmosphere and the great temperatures they have, and, of course, the plates they put on the shuttle to try to prevent any heat from affecting the astronauts. Well, that same heat is very destructive to the chemicals that are on these different objects that are coming through the atmosphere. So we suspect that not only is it a very low risk for people who are going by or near these objects, but we also think that the environmental impact should be very minimal.
All right, Dr. Dan Keyes, the director of North Texas Poison Center, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do want to let you know, though, some of the dangers that are associated, perhaps the hypotheticals here. This nitrogen tetroxide that we had heard about, if you come in contact with your eyes, it causes pain, blurred vision, potentially blindness, skin contact. It may cause chemical burns. It does absorb quickly, and there are toxic effects. And if it's inhaled, we understand it's an extreme health hazard. It irritates the upper respiratory tract and the lungs, and a single acute exposure may even cause death.
Well, Americans woke today to images of the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrating as it returned to Earth. All 7 astronauts on board were killed. Here's some of the pictures. You can see the thing disintegrating as it's coming down. It is, after 9/11, especially scary. A number of people were referring to that. Parents were struggling to explain it to their children and try to tell them exactly what happened. There was great concern about this perhaps being a terrorist act, but the government has said repeatedly that that is a very, very remote possibility. In fact, too high for any kind of a missile to hit. And of course, the shuttle and the whole launching system have been well maintained and checked out long before this launch ever took place. So the notion of terrorism is very, very remote. Now, we're going to be pausing here momentarily and going to CBS News, and they'll be having more on this, and they'll bring us up to date on what's been happening nationally, give us some international reaction, and we'll have a special hour-long presentation between 6 and 7 o'clock. And I know that a lot of you are perhaps just now tuning in. It's a Saturday. Perhaps you've been on holiday. Perhaps you've been out of the area. So now you want to know what is taking place. And if you'll watch now with CBS News and then hour-long special between 6 and 7 o'clock, we'll bring you all up to date. What you're looking at here is one of the debris fields started a fire out near the Palestine area.
That's right. And again, if you find debris, you are asked to call this telephone number. It's 1-800-525-5555. The debris path is 500 miles long. I believe you mentioned.
Well, about 500 miles square, they're saying they found stuff. Yeah.
And it could stretch to 3 times that amount. The area you're seeing shaded is the area where it's most concentrated. If you do find something, please call the number on your screen. Don't touch it. Don't get near it. Just make the call.
Yeah, and if you're not just concerned about health concerns, which you should be, remember that it is a violation of federal law for you to pick this material up. And the government wants very much to get as much of it together so that perhaps they can do some reconstruction to try to find out exactly what happened here.
And it could be some time before we have the answers to that question.
Now, Dan Rather and the crew from New York, Washington, from the Space Center and so forth, about to give us a full wrap-up. We will be back tonight at 6 o'clock. Please stay with us.
Houston, comm check.
A disaster from out of the blue over America's heartland.
We heard a large boom, and then that was followed by a second boom.
The shuttle Columbia disintegrates on re-entry with 7 crew members aboard.
The Columbia's lost. There are no survivors.
The space program pays tribute to its fallen colleagues.
A more courageous group of people you could not have hoped to know.
Across the sprawling debris field, concerns for public safety, while from coast to coast, Americans expressed their bewilderment and grief.
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. For the second time in its history, the U.S. Space Shuttle program has suffered a deadly catastrophe in the air. The shuttle Columbia flew apart this morning as it hurtled toward a touchdown in Florida. All 7 crew members were killed, 6 Americans and the first ever astronaut from Israel. Debris was scattered over hundreds of square miles. Officials say there are no indications that terrorism caused the fiery breakup, but the job of finding out what did is only just getting underway. Our coverage begins with aviation correspondent Bob Orr in Washington.
Shuttle Columbia, with 7 astronauts aboard, was streaking across the blue Texas skies just 16 minutes from home when it blew apart. In a horrifying echo of the Challenger catastrophe 17 years earlier, flaming debris fell to Earth along a 300-mile-long trail of destruction from Fort Worth to western Louisiana.
Sadly, I think from the video that's available, it does not appear that there were any survivors.
Officials say Columbia suffered a catastrophic structural breakup that may have begun 7 minutes before the spacecraft disintegrated.
The first indications were of the loss of sensors, temperature sensors in the hydraulic systems on the left wing.
Multiple failures followed. Mission Control lost tire pressure indications, a problem shuttle commanders also noted in their final radio transmission.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages, and we did not copy your last.
Roger. Commander Rick Husband's transmission was abruptly cut off. 40 miles above the Earth, traveling at 18 times the speed of sound, Columbia broke into pieces. Mission Control lost all contact and all hope.
We lost the data, and that's when we clearly begin to know that we had a bad day.
Columbia's mission had been a success, 16 days filled with scientific experiments. But NASA investigators now want to find out if the mission's tragic ending actually began with the shuttle's launch. When Columbia lifted off the pad January 16th, a piece of foam used to insulate the external fuel tank broke off and struck the leading edge of the left wing. It caused no obvious damage to the wing or the heat tiles that protect the shuttle during re-entry. But now there are preliminary indications the shuttle's breakup may have begun on that same left side. That's where NASA lost the sensors and where Mission Control noted, quote, excessive structural heating. And video shows a large piece of the shuttle, possibly a wing, ripping off the spacecraft just before the whole orbiter came apart.
Right at the top of the list will be a concern about the thermal protection system, the tiles which insulate the spacecraft from the heat of reentry.
Investigators now will zero in on the data received from Columbia just before it was lost to try to reconstruct the fatal sequence of failures. But they also desperately need physical evidence from the wreckage to precisely pin down the cause. Dan?
Bob Orr, thanks. The first sickening proof that Columbia was no more came almost immediately when people in 2 states started finding pieces of debris. NASA warned people not to touch the debris, that it might be toxic. Bob McNamara has more.
The shuttle's catastrophic breakup and its long fall to Earth were witnessed by thousands under a bright Texas sky. And some, like Raymond Cervantes of Dallas, caught the disaster on home videotape.
I noticed about 4 minutes later a boom that just shook the house. It literally rattled the glass in the house. It was just an unbelievable sound.
Shuttle debris rained down on North and East Texas. Much of it still coming to Earth even hours after the space vehicle exploded some 40 miles high. Fiery falling metal touched off grass fires in open fields near Corsicana, while others reported their homes were hit.
I heard a thud on my house, which sounded kind of like a bird, might hit at the house. And then my sister called and said, did you know the shuttle blew up?
The shuttle's wide debris field crosses the vast timberlands of East Texas and extends into Louisiana. But the epicenter of the debris impact appeared to be in and around the East Texas town of Nacogdoches. Some of the bits and pieces of metal came down in the town square and were cordoned off by police until investigators arrived. In residential areas around Nacogdoches, bits of wreckage were discovered on lawns.
Well, at first I heard a loud noise, and then I heard this falling, and I run to the door, and this big piece was in my yard.
Police blocked access to the Nacogdoches airport after one large piece of debris resembling a fuel tank landed on a runway. Perhaps miraculously here, for all the falling debris, there were no reported injuries on this day that recalled the Challenger disaster almost 2 decades ago.
I remember where I was 17 years ago, and I expect I'll remember where I was today when when this happened. It's just, it's a sad day for our country. And
to express that sorrow, people here have begun placing flowers in a parking lot. It's a makeshift memorial, which is about 25 yards away from a piece of shuttle debris that's been cordoned off. It's about the size of a small car door. In the meantime, we're told that human remains from the shuttle have been found about 50 miles southeast of here, the Texas town of Hemphill, on the Texas-Louisiana line. Dan?
Bob McNamara, thanks. President Bush was quick to express the nation's grief in brief televised remarks this afternoon, and he was quick to assert as well that America's work in space is not over. Correspondent John Roberts is following events at the White House tonight.
The flag atop the White House again marking a national tragedy. President Bush rushed back from Camp David to honor the 7 fallen astronauts.
These astronauts knew the dangers, and they faced them willingly, knowing they had a high and noble purpose in life.
The president was assured by his advisors that it all appeared to be a terrible accident, no hint of terrorism at all. Mr. Bush spoke personally to the families of 6 of the astronauts. I want you to know there are millions of Americans praying for you, including me and Laura, he told them. I hope that brings you some comfort. Words he echoed in his address to the nation.
You're not alone. Our entire nation grieves with you. And those you loved will always have the respect and gratitude of this country.
The disaster and the thousands of questions it will prompt is another urgent matter for a president already burdened by several crises. Looming military action with Iraq, the ongoing war in Afghanistan, and a new request to send combat aircraft and bombers to the Western Pacific to counter the increasing nuclear threat from North Korea. President Bush would not predict what immediate effect today's shuttle crash would have on the space program, but he did vow that the cause for which the 7 astronauts died would continue.
Our journey into space will go on.
President Bush has ordered that flags at the White House and federal facilities around the world be flown at half-staff until next Wednesday. And Mr. Bush has also promised a careful and thorough investigation into why the Space Shuttle Columbia did not return home. Dan?
John Roberts reporting live from the White House. 7 astronauts lost their lives today, just as a safe end to their mission was almost literally in sight. Mika Brzezinski tells us more about the courageous and determined men and women who were fulfilling their dreams.
This was Commander Rick Husband's second mission. The 45-year-old Texas native was a father of 2 and a singer in his church. He made up his mind as a boy that he would be an astronaut. Pilot Willie McCool, a 41-year-old from Lubbock, Texas, was married and had 3 sons. This was his first space flight, his first chance to look down on Earth.
Especially the views, they're just beyond all imagination. Red, orange, yellow to white. All in about 15 seconds, I saw my first sunrise across the tail of the orbiter.
Mission specialist David Brown of Arlington, Virginia, was a pilot, a doctor, and Navy captain, proud of the mission's scientific accomplishments.
We're looking at how flames burn and want to learn more about how to make more fuel-efficient engines, how to make cleaner engines.
Mission specialist Kalpana Chawla was born in India and later became a U.S. citizen. She was a passionate flyer who made aerobatics her hobby. Payload commander Lieutenant Colonel Michael Anderson was one of only a handful of African-American astronauts, a husband, a father of 2 girls, and a role model.
Work hard, be persistent, and don't give up, and you can achieve any dream you really want to achieve.
Laurel Clark, doctor, mother of an 8-year-old son, Navy captain's wife, and more. A diving medical officer who worked on submarines and a naval flight surgeon. Her hobby, parachuting.
I still feel very fortunate to be assigned to this mission, not only because it's such a long mission and we get to spend so much time in space, but because we're doing such exciting research.
Ilan Ramon was the first Israeli in space. He was a colonel in the Israeli Air Force who fought in 2 wars. During the mission, he said, "The world looks marvelous from up here, so peaceful, so wonderful, and so fragile." The family members of the crew had gathered at Cape Canaveral to watch the landing and welcome back their loved ones. Columbia was just 16 minutes away from touchdown when it exploded. Dan.
Mika Brzezinski, thanks. For the families of the 7 astronauts, anticipation of a joyful homecoming turned into cruel grief with crushing suddenness. Cynthia Bowers has their story.
Just a few days and a lifetime ago, pilot William McCool's mom was understandably feeling proud and a bit anxious for her son to get home safely.
From my perspective, I just wanted them to go and be able to be successful.
Her hope turned to grief today, as did that of families and friends around the country. David Brown's parents were also among those watching and waiting.
We were nervous about the landing because that is a dangerous time, but of course couldn't imagine this could happen.
43-year-old Michael Anderson, one of only a handful of black astronauts, grew up on military bases. Family friend Happy Watkins says he not only had high hopes, he had a good heart.
He was respectful to his parents. He was respectful to his neighbors.
Navy Dr. Laurel Clark, mother of an 8-year-old boy, was just as determined to make a difference.
What should we remember her for? An adventuresome spirit who was willing to, who had a lot of goals.
Here at Horlick High in Racine, Wisconsin, where Laurel Clark graduated, already the flag flies at half-staff, and all day students and friends have been paying tribute.
It was evident from day one that she really had decided that she wanted to make something out of herself.
And now, for the family and friends left behind, a painful new mission is just getting underway.
We just got to pull together and support this great family. I know that they're in deep sorrow.
And they're not alone. Their sorrow shared by an entire nation. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Racine, Wisconsin.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, mourning in Israel over the loss of that country's first astronaut.
If you've had a heart attack or a stroke, the last thing you need is another one sneaking up on you. Smile. After all, you've got better things to do. I know. In my case, I had a heart attack. Then I heard about Plavix, so I asked my doctor. He told me Plavix is a prescription pill that can help protect you from a heart attack or a stroke if you've recently had one, or if you have poor circulation in the legs causing pain.
Plavix is proven to help keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots, which helps keep your blood flowing. This can help protect you from another heart attack or stroke. If you have a medical condition that is causing bleeding, such as a stomach ulcer, you should not use Plavix. Side effects include itching, rash, diarrhea, and bruising. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur. Ask your doctor.
Taking Plavix once a day helps protect me.
Find out if Plavix can help protect you from another heart attack or stroke.
At Red Lobster's all-you-can-eat shrimp celebration, you'll never have to use silverware. You'll never have to choose between freshly breaded shrimp and scampi. And you'll never have to stop. All-you-can-eat shrimp ends February 9th at Red Lobster.
It's open house time at your local Miracle Ear Hearing Aid Center, and that means savings up to $1,000 on select digital hearing systems. Experience the clarity of digital hearing aids with this exceptional limited time offer that speaks loud and clear. This offer can't last forever, so call this toll-free number or visit any of our 1,000 Miracle Ear locations nationwide, including many in Sears stores. But do it today. This sale ends February 19th.
If you have diabetes, you've probably handled thousands of test strips. But no more, thanks to the AccuCheck compact meter. Just drop in a drum containing 17 test strips. Press the button and you're ready. 17 consecutive tests and no handling strips. What could be clearer? The AccuCheck compact meter. Look for the one with the drum.
Are you taking Allegra for your seasonal allergies yet? Whoa! I guess not. Allegra for multi-symptom relief. See your doctor for people 12 and over. Side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Allegra, it's time to switch.
Hot desktop deals now at Gateway. This awesome system has a super fast Intel Pentium 4 2.4 gig processor, CD burner, huge 17-inch color monitor, and lots more, starting at just $8.99. And if you call now, we'll double your memory for free. Get a free copy of TurboTax Deluxe 2002 with purchase of any Gateway consumer PC. I'll take it. Call 1-800-GATEWAY today.
Drama in the desert, sudden death playoffs, and David Duval's unprecedented score of 59. That's what unfolds at the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic tomorrow on CBS.
Shockwaves from the Columbia tragedy are being felt full force in Israel tonight, the home of astronaut Ilan Ramon. Correspondent David Hawkins in Tel Aviv has that nation's stunned reaction.
Booster ignition and liftoff. 16 days ago, the launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia may have seemed routine to most Americans, but for Israelis, it was an historic day. Israeli Air Force Colonel Ilan Ramon, the son of a Holocaust survivor, became the nation's first man in space. And the nation cheered. The Israeli astronaut was a welcome symbol of hope in times of trouble and despair. Israel's proud Prime Minister Ariel Sharon told him, "You are one of our best achievements." Today, as it became painfully apparent that Colonel Ramon and his colleagues were not coming home, the nation mourned.
This is going to hit Israelis quite hard because it's very personal. Yeah. The wife has been interviewed. We know the kids, the kids are known in their classes and in schools. It's very personal. It's a very personal loss for everybody. I'm very upset.
Colonel Ramon's wife and children were waiting for his return at Cape Canaveral. His 79-year-old father received the tragic news on live television when an Israeli reporter covering the landing interrupted with these terrible words. "We have a problem here." Later, his father said simply, "I have lost a son." Israel lost a hero. An Israeli Air Force general said tonight that Colonel Ramon was a soldier, a friend, but above all, a mensch, a man. Dan?
Live from Tel Aviv, David Hawkins with the story of Ilan Ramon. Officials today suspended all space shuttle operations for the time being as the investigation into the causes of today's crash gets underway. Joining us now from the Kennedy Space Center is our veteran CBS News space consultant, Bill Harwood, who was at the Kennedy Space Center as today's disaster unfolded. Bill, NASA had no plans to make another shuttle. Where does this leave the program?
Well, Dan, of course, you're right. There are no plans to build another shuttle. There is no shuttle assembly line. The cost would simply be too prohibitive. It leaves them with 3 space shuttles, and of course, the first objective is to find out what went wrong, fix anything that needs fixing, because all the time there's a clock ticking of sorts. There's an International Space Station in orbit. 3 astronauts are aboard as we speak. And of course, they have supplies on board. They can remain aboard the station until spring or very early summer, but if the shuttles don't resume flying in the next few months, there's a very strong likelihood the crew would have to abandon the space station, come home in a Russian Soyuz lifeboat, and leave that multi-billion-dollar facility unmanned, at least temporarily, unless they can get this resolved and resume flights on fairly short order.
Bill, after the Challenger disaster of 1986, there was a lot of talk of putting an end to manned space missions. Will this tragedy further that debate?
I think it probably will. It's inevitable that critics will look at the high cost of this and the risk in terms of human lives. But 2 factors I'd leave you with tonight, Dan. One is that International Space Station. This country has spent tens of millions of billions of dollars on that facility, and it's hard to believe that the country would turn its back and walk away from that investment. The other thing is, Dan, public support remains high for space, and I can't believe the people would want the space program to end.
Bill Harwood, live from Florida, thanks. Just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, outpourings of grief for America's newest lost heroes.
Unlike Wall Street, your life doesn't stop every day at 4. Your hopes and dreams go beyond stocks and bonds. You want to guard and grow your portfolio and things more valuable than portfolios. At Merrill Lynch, our financial advisors know your financial life goes beyond Wall Street. So their advice goes further too. Introducing Total Merrill. We see your financial life in total. We make it all add up to more.
It's LensCrafters' best $99 offer ever. Right now, get a complete pair of glasses with DuraLens, our most scratch-resistant plastic lens for only $99. The $99 DuraLens event. This is one you don't want to miss.
Hurry, offer ends soon.
Imagine if nature stopped working. Well, that's what it's like when Raymond's constipated. Phillips works with his body more naturally, gentle and stimulant-free, like nature intended. Phillips relieves constipation so he's his natural self. Phillips, the comfortable way.
Escalade ESV, the biggest of the breed. Cadillac, breakthrough.
The promotion, a new title, a bigger paycheck, better days ahead. Your hard work paid off, and so did that extra confidence from getting rid of your gray hair with Just for Men hair color. Its vitamin formula rejuvenates your hair and energizes you with a natural look in 5 easy minutes. When you feel confident, it shows. Just for Men, the Rejuvenator.
The U.S. space program, despite enormous success, it's also had its share of disasters. Monday, Eye on America looks at the future of NASA on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
In the day's other major story, word today from Iraq that top UN arms inspectors Hans Blix and Mohammed El Baradei will return to Baghdad next Saturday for last-minute talks. That's less than a week ahead of another crucial report to the Security Council scheduled February 14th. It is not clear if the inspectors will meet with Saddam Hussein. Today's Columbia tragedy was a brutal reminder to whomever may have needed it that space shuttle flights are never routine. and it underscored the truth that a country cannot pick and choose the crises it will face. Richard Schlesinger takes the pulse of the nation.
At a memorial to fallen astronauts not far from the Space Center's launch pads, 7 new names will soon be etched on the wall. The sense of loss was in the air here.
I would like just to ask you to join all of us in a period now of silent reflection.
But there was no ground zero for grief today. Americans across the country looked to the heavens above Texas and saw a glimpse of hell. A frightening sight at any time, made still worse because of the times.
I think a typical American is on the edge already with the economy, the possibility of war with Iraq, the situation with North Korea, and now the tragedy that happened this morning. You know, it just adds another blow to it.
Many Americans could be forgiven for asking, what next?
It's just another thing that we have to just dig in our heels and try to deal with and pull as much spirit as we can.
The nation has a shared sense of loss today, rocked from coast to coast like an earthquake with no epicenter. Disagreements about war and the economy have been put aside for now. And at the Space Center, there are a lot of questions, mostly technical and scientific. But the explorers here also want to learn something about the American spirit and why it takes tragedy to strengthen it.
Damn, we're good. This country's great. It shouldn't take these kind of things to cause a coming together.
Chances are they'll at least come close to figuring out what caused the breakup of Columbia. Some of the other questions will be harder to answer. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
We'll be back.
Meet the competition. Your kids' friends. They can be a big influence on your kids. And when you're not there, you never know. So know who your kids' friends are. And talk to your kids about things like cigarettes. So they'll be ready if the competition brings it up.
You guys want a cigarette? No.
Talk to your kids about not smoking. They'll listen.
You want to go get something to eat?
In the beginning, I was nervous about other people holding her, or even changing her, and I had to have those pricey diapers. Now, you take her. I know Loves work great. They cost less, even without coupons. And leaks? I don't worry about leaks. They hold like the Hoover Dam, no matter who holds her. Her hugs are tight. Okay, my turn. Live and learn, and then get Loves.
Good girl. A groundbreaking study by Purina proves that dogs can live longer, healthier lives.
After all these years, you haven't lost a step, you old hound.
The 14-year study proves that dog chow nutrition, when fed properly over his lifetime, can significantly extend his healthy years.
Okay, last one home buys breakfast.
So he can keep on amazing you year after year.
Gotta be the dog chow.
Incredible dog food, incredible dogs. Purina Dog Chow brand.
Wish your dentures were this comfortable? Bob's denture adhesive is C-Bond.
Bought it for hold, love it for comfort.
Only C-Bond clings wall to wall with 3 strong adhesives in a thin velvet soft wafer. No gaps, no ooze. C-Bond, buy it for hold.
Love it for comfort.
And to help get dentures their absolute cleanest, try C-Bond Denture Brush. It's the #1 denture brush brand, C-Bond.
Because Aleve contains the fast-acting form of prescription naproxen, just 2 pills have the strength to last all day. So people in pain may not have to rely on a prescription, when Aleve is the next best thing.
Have you made the move to Allegra for your seasonal allergies? Doesn't sound like it. Allegra for multi-symptom relief. See your doctor for people 12 and over. Side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Allegra, it's time to switch.
The Space Shuttle disaster. Shock and disbelief give way to fact-finding as the nation mourns. What went wrong? We'll have all the latest details on Face the Nation, Sunday.
Ever since 3 astronauts died a fiery death in a space capsule on the ground in 1967, there has been a tradition. At memorial services for astronauts, there is sung a version of the hymn, Eternal Father, also known as the Navy hymn, with an updated revision. We close this somber day with an introduction to it and then the words of that hymn. Brave astronauts in the sky, gallant ones who fly and die. Lord, guard and guide those who fly throughout the great spaces in the sky. Be with them always in the air, in darkening storms or sunlight fair. Oh, hear us when we lift our prayer for those in peril in the air. In memory of the Columbia astronauts and with condolences to their families, Dan Rather. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com. AOL keyword CBS News.
CBS News. What lies behind this door has changed the fate of all who have possessed it.
Just can't seem to get it out of my mind.
5 families linked for 300 years by one remarkable mystery in Hallmark Hall of Fame's most ambitious production ever. Emmy winner Glenn Close, Oscar winner Ellen Burstyn, and Thomas Gibson discover the extraordinary truth only one woman knows.
Do you know what such devotion is called? It's called love!
Brush with Fate, CBS Sunday.
A self-exam won't catch it. Neither will a mammogram. It's one of the deadliest types of breast cancer. The least known and hardest to cure. Find out the symptoms before it may be too late. Tuesday at 10 on CBS 11 News.
Real news doesn't need outlandish spins or hype. If you feel the same way about the news, you know where you can find us. Every night, reporting the news.
Tracy Rowlett, only on CBS 11. The Late Show with David Letterman, weeknights after CBS 11 News at 10.
This day has brought terrible news and great sadness to our country. Debris was seen falling from the skies above Texas. The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
Reporting the news. This is CBS 11 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, the reality has set in. It's settling across the country. The Space Shuttle Columbia and its crew of 7 are gone.
Columbia broke up into flames about 8 o'clock this morning as it was flying over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Witnesses across the area reported hearing what sounded like a sonic boom and seeing this contrail from the shuttle. Debris has been spotted across a 500-mile square area and in 600 locations, but most of it seems to have fallen in an area from north-central Texas to far east Texas and even into Louisiana. We begin our team coverage tonight live in Nacogdoches, where much of that debris has been found. And here's CBS 11's Bennett Cunningham.
Tracy, it is an unbelievable sight. Debris from outer space littering the East Texas landscape. One of the largest pieces found here in the bank parking lot here in Nacogdoches. One of the many pieces that have fallen from the Space Shuttle Columbia. This block of burnt metal landed about 20 feet away from Goldie Hamilton's front door. She was inside cooking at the time.
Well, at first I heard a loud noise, and it really shocked me, and I run to the door. And I went back to sit down and watch TV, and then I heard this falling. And I run to the door, and this big piece was in my yard. But it really scared me. And I'm still nervous.
Ron Spear was riding in his ATV when he found what he thinks is a piece of the shuttle.
I didn't hear anything. We were just out riding our ATV and saw a piece of metal in the trail and stopped to pick it up so nobody would run a tire. And once we looked at it and examined it, we decided that maybe it was a piece off the space shuttle.
He taped it up in a soda bin in order to preserve it for authorities. Some of the pieces landed here just by the side of the road. You can see this one piece of metal scorched. You can see fabric torn from the shuttle, fallen 200,000 feet from the sky. Police found the outer skin of the shuttle on this country road. What appears to be the white tiles of the shuttle burnt into white dust. Metal parts like fenders were set down in parking lots. Bolts, Even this piece of plastic, believed to be from the shuttle, landed about an hour after the shuttle exploded.
It was very unusual sound, kind of like a jet, but it just, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a rumbling, and everything was vibrating. The car was vibrating, the ground was vibrating.
People continue to put down flowers at a makeshift memorial, sometimes putting 7 roses down for each one of the astronauts that lost their lives. People continue to call in reports of debris. It'll be a while before authorities can gather the many thousands of pieces of the shuttle that have littered the landscape out here in East Texas. In Nacogdoches, Bennett Cunningham, CBS 11 News.
Human remains, along with more debris, have been found in nearby St. Augustine.
CBS 11's Robert Riggs has more.
Paramedics appeared to recover human remains as they left a wooded area with biohazard bags near the possible crash site of the shuttle's crew compartment. A special team with global positioning equipment pinpointed the location, and the Texas troopers secured it as a crime scene. The investigation centered near where a seat shoulder harness was found on the side of the road, along with a charged shuttle mission patch.
I almost stepped on what I thought was a piece of trash, and when I looked down even closer, I noticed it was a patch. It was a flight mission patch.
Sheriff's deputies and FBI agents searched pastures and piney woods, marking hundreds of pieces of debris. The main debris field appeared to end near the Texas border with Louisiana, south of St. Augustine. Earlier, 60 miles to the west, ranch foreman Stephen Dallas was doing the morning chores when he heard a series of sonic booms overhead.
And we seen pieces go in all kinds of different directions, and then about 30 minutes later my wife came out and told us what all happened, and it was just amazing.
4 miles away, moving east towards Nacogdoches, a 1 by 3 foot section of the shuttle's fuselage with scorched protective tiles dropped out of the sky on Highway 21. Bonnie Kerr thought someone was jumping up and down on the roof of her home. She went outside and saw nothing until she opened her mailbox.
I didn't know anything was going on. And so I went outside and I didn't see anything. And then I went across the road and mailed some letters. And a piece of metal just about that big fell down from the sky in front of me. And I didn't know what in the world was going on.
The search for remains and debris focuses on the thick piney woods of the Angelina National Forest in this area and tributaries of the Sam Rayburn Reservoir. And with nightfall closing it in, it appears it will take weeks, if not months, to thoroughly comb this area. Robert Riggs, CBS 11 News, St. Augustine County.
President Bush was at Camp David when he heard the news this morning. He returned to the White House where the flags had already been lowered to half staff. He addressed the nation from the cabinet room.
This day has brought terrible news and great sadness to our country. At 9 o'clock this morning, Mission Control in Houston lost contact with our Space Shuttle Columbia. A short time later, debris was seen falling from the skies above Texas. The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
Tonight, engineers and scientists at the Johnson Space Center in Houston are trying to find out why a mission that was considered flawless ended so tragically. CBS 11's Michael Hill joins us now with more on that investigation. Michael?
Tracy, 10 hours later, NASA offers no speculation about what destroyed Space Shuttle Columbia. But 2 shuttle managers did tell us what happened in the minutes before NASA lost communication with Columbia at 8 this morning.
This is a bad day.
Chief Flight Director Milt Heflin says NASA got its first indication something was wrong at 7:53 with the loss of temperature measurements in the left hydraulic systems. 7:56 in the left main gear. The tire wheel well, brake line, and tire temperatures increased. 7:58, 3 temperature sensors failed near the left wing. 7:59, the left inboard and outboard tire temperatures and pressures disappeared. Seconds later, the last transmission from Columbia to Johnson Space Center.
No tracking data or communications has been reported from the Space Shuttle Columbia since 8 a.m. Central Time this morning.
We think they were acknowledging that measurement that they saw.
Columbia was re-entering the Earth's orbit at 18 times the speed of sound at 207,135 feet above North Texas and then fell into pieces.
When we have an event like today,
Where we lose 7 family members, it is devastating to us.
NASA wants as much of the scattered debris collected and the hardware and data preserved to figure out what went wrong. But already attention has turned to the shuttle launch when a piece of foam insulation broke off and hit Columbia's left wing. The flight manager and engineers reviewed the film and analyzed the impact.
It was judged that that event did not represent a safety concern.
But in hindsight,
certainly we have all the indications that Milt talked to you about were on the left wing. We can't discount that there might be a connection. But we have to caution you and ourselves that we can't rush to judgment on it.
If foam damaged the orbiter's tiles, NASA concedes it has no setup for a spacewalk to inspect or repair Columbia.
The risk you take when you launch is that you may suffer a tile issue. We have no capability to repair it. All we can do is, before we launch, design robustness into the system so that a loss of some tile capability will not result in loss of crew or vehicle.
Before the tragedy, NASA says the mission was amazing. 16 days of scientific experiments, some downlinked to Earth before the scheduled landing at Cape Canaveral.
Things were going so well and turned out so badly.
NASA engineers were looking forward to telling the crew what a great job it had done, but now the shuttle program has been grounded until NASA figures out what happened. Live in the studio, Michael Hill, CBS 11 News.
Hey, Michael, thank you. When the shuttle exploded over Texas this morning, the debris cloud was captured in the atmosphere on the CBS 11 weather radar.
Let's talk more about this. The CBS 11's meteorologist, Mike Berger. Mike.
What we saw this morning, and I suppose in a way it was fortunate because we had beautiful clear skies, so all of the radars around that we check on were in clear air mode. So they're looking out there and they're seeing this. The Space Shuttle Columbia, of course, is the oldest of the shuttles, and as you take a look at this video, you will see the cloud as it became apparent on our radar. Now, what happened? The shuttle exploded over the Dallas area, and you see that cloud moving to the east and a little bit to the northeast. Well, the upper level winds, as this thing explodes, everything is turned into these minute particles. It was so high, almost 40 miles, that some of those particles, of course, very, very hot, they may have run into some ice. The ice would have formed around the particles, and then the clouds stayed together. And as late as 3 o'clock this afternoon, we were still seeing a few of those signatures on the radar from Shreveport.
We don't realize how high this is 39 miles up there.
Exactly.
We were talking about how a piece of this material had landed about an hour after we heard the explosion.
Well, exactly right. And the winds aloft, now we go up to about 200 millibars, and the winds aloft blowing anywhere from 40 to about 60 knots. But if you have something that's light enough, it's kind of like a hailstone. Kind of like as a hailstone forms, it's keep throwing back up in the air until it gets too heavy to hold. And that's probably what happened here. Is this article was just light enough, the winds kept it up there, and then finally the winds give up and it has to fall to Earth.
So does it continue to move like eastward in an eastward direction before it falls down? So we will continue to see, more and more of this in Louisiana?
Well, I don't know if we'll see any more. Probably most of the major parts are down now, but if you get those really small parts, those are the parts we'll never find because they're so minute, and there's billions of those little parts that were in the atmosphere and formed that cloud today.
We ought to also mention that while Mike, of course, is a meteorologist, he also is a news person and for a long while lived and worked in Florida and covered the shuttle and has been really a very valuable resource for us. We appreciate it.
Sure,
Mike.
thank you, Trace.
We'll be checking back in with Mike a little bit later on. The Space Shuttle Columbia was the oldest NASA space orbiter and was flying its 28th mission.
The Space Shuttle Columbia was the oldest of NASA's fleet. It was first launched in April 1981 on a 2-day flight to demonstrate safe launch and return systems. It was on its 28th flight, and it was the 113th in the shuttle program's 22-year history. In September 1999, Columbia underwent an extensive 17-month overhaul. It rejoined the shuttle fleet in February 2001 and flew its first mission after the upgrades in March of last year. This mission began January 16th and lasted for 16 days. There were 7 people on board the Shuttle Columbia this morning.
Mission Commander Rick Husband graduated from Amarillo High School and then from Texas Tech. Colonel Husband had logged more than 200 hours in space. He was married with 2 children. Pilot William Willie McCool graduated from Coronado High in Lubbock. Commander McCool attended the Naval Academy. Payload Commander Michael Anderson was from Washington State. Lieutenant Colonel Anderson was also married and had 2 children. Flight engineer Dr. Kalpana Chawla was born and educated in India before attending the University of Texas at Arlington. She became an American citizen but was still a national hero in her homeland. Mission specialist Dr. Laurel Clark was from Iowa. Commander Clark served in the Navy aboard a nuclear submarine and was married and had 1 child. And Dr. David Brown was born in Virginia and was a Navy captain. Brown served as mission specialist aboard STS-107. And Colonel Ilan Ramon was born in Tel Aviv and flew combat missions for the Israeli Air Force. Colonel Ramon leaves behind a wife and 4 children. Of course, the shuttle was scheduled to land at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Reporter Marissa Carbone joins us live now from Kennedy with more. Marissa?
Tracy, Lori, the mood out here is somber, and it has been all day for 2 reasons. First, sadness for the loss of the 7 astronauts, and also concern for the future of the Space Shuttle program. The families of the 7 astronauts were here this morning, gathered early to welcome home their loved ones with open arms, but of course, that was not to be. And about 4 o'clock, NASA flew those families back to Johnson Space Center in Houston. NASA employees say that this program, the Space Shuttle program, just cannot afford to be mothballed for 2.5 years, which is what happened after the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up in 1986. Now, there have been some spontaneous displays of emotion, if you will, and that is happening outside the gates of this Kennedy Space Center at the Visitor Center, where just regular folks are gathering to pray, say a prayer, remember the astronauts who are lost. They're gathering at the memorial to all the astronauts that have been lost, including the Challenger astronauts, which is located within the Visitor Center. Reporting live from Kennedy Space Center, Marissa Carbone, CBS 11 News.
Thank you very much, Marissa.
And CBS 11's Jody Dean spent most of today over East Texas in Helicopter 11, Chopper 11, and joins us now with some of what they saw. Jody.
Well, Tracy, Chopper 11 flew for about 5 hours over East Texas before temporary flight restrictions forced us from the air. It was a beautiful day. These are just a few of the images from the debris field we saw earlier. 2 ranchers near Palestine trying to figure out how to put out a grass fire, perhaps unaware of what caused it. But from the air, we could see that whatever landed here was moving from northwest to southeast. We circled for quite a while, and the 2 men on the ground looked to us as if they were searching for us to give them answers. We didn't have any more than they did. Also in Anderson County, another image you'll see here in just a second, a woman with a shovel trying to put out a brush fire on the edge of her property, calling someone on her cell phone at the time. Her mother, we assume, and a small child and a dog were seated nearby. And then in downtown Nacogdoches, another audience gathered near a bank parking lot, cordoned off, containing a piece of metal the size of a car door. In all, we saw 4 or 5 dozen smoke plumes, each possibly marking a site containing more debris. We also saw pastures and property littered with routine trash and discarded materials of all kinds, nearly all of which will also have to be examined, just in case. I'm Jody Dean, live in studio, CBS 11.
All right, Jody, thank you. Good point. As we mentioned, some of the debris has been spotted in parts of Nacogdoches, including the town square.
And that's where we find CBS 11's Jerry Strickland tonight. Jerry?
Well, Tracy, many people here in Nacogdoches heard what sounded like thunder at about 8 a.m. this morning. Thunder so loud and so violent it shook their houses. When they went outside, most eyes went north looking to the sky. What they saw, debris falling to the ground, debris like this that found right in the middle of Nacogdoches.
Just everything, all the buildings were shaking around, which we didn't know what it was. And
I'm just heartbroken, about the loss of everything and the lives. But
Nacogdoches Town Square, a flag at half-staff standing guard over America's latest loss. This piece of debris bringing the magnitude of what happened to a town that's content to stay out of the spotlight.
You feel sorry for him?
Whitney first heard the thunder at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Now her mother is bringing her here hours later to remember the true loss on board Columbia.
For them to understand, we brought flowers so they'd understand that people were killed and that it affected a lot of people all over America and other countries too.
7 roses placed here, 1 for each astronaut on board. At Nacogdoches Memorial Hospital, the anxiety of the debris sending dozens of people to the ER. But so far, no health problems reported from anyone who touched it.
We had approximately 27 people come by so far seeking information. They've had contact with the debris, found it in their backyard, out on the highway, and picked it up, moved it, or had contact in some fashion, and they've come by talking to us about what should we do in case we have some symptoms develop.
The impact of what fell from the sky just sinking in, even as the stark reality of what happened is far from being completely felt. You can see tonight some of the security force that is here, a volunteer security force. Some of those gentlemen there from the U.S. Navy Reserves, some of them from the National Guard. They were on assignment here in this area. Many people also on assignment who are part of the emergency personnel here, kind of cordoning off some of that debris to see what NASA wants to do with it, how they want to collect it, and what is next. Of course, people here still coming to the Nacogdoches Town Center, trying to catch a glimpse of the debris, all reverent about what happened and certainly what was lost. Reporting live in Nacogdoches, Jerry Strickland, CBS 11 News.
Now there's a similar scene that's taking place in Palestine where officials were also busy today treating residents who were exposed to the debris.
CBS 11's Ken Malloy is live now in Palestine with more. Ken?
Karen, just a short time ago, we left the regional medical center where throughout the course of the day today, some 24 residents were treated for exposure to the debris. A slow procession of Anderson community residents are being decontaminated at a makeshift hazmat center behind the hospital. The first step is to check for contamination with a wand, similar to a wand used at airport metal detection centers. Behind this brown tarp, residents are sprayed down with water that is captured and then stored. Their clothes are wrapped up inside airtight red plastic bags. Dan Gideon, Chief Operating Officer for the hospital.
Once the patient or the victim is decontaminated, then they come in and they're seen by a physician, evaluated, and then released. So far, all of the patients that we've seen have been asymptomatic.
How are you guys feeling? We feel fine, sir.
Yeah? Everything going good?
I guarantee you don't want picking nothing on the highway, though.
After their evaluation, a dozen or so residents now wearing white disposable coveralls are cleared to go home.
Did you actually touch something?
No, my daughter right there and my grandbaby, they touched something and I touched them.
Oh, okay.
And then they said, come on up here.
But everybody's checking out okay?
Yeah, everybody's checked out fine.
Everyone checked out just fine. We were asked not to release the names of the family members affected. Once they were treated and released, they were given a list of possible symptoms to keep their eyes on during the coming hours and coming days. If those symptoms appear, they have been asked to contact the regional hospital. Live in Anderson County, Ken Malloy, CBS 11 News.
Now this debris patch stretched over about a 500 square mile area, Karen, and it could stretch to about 3 times that size, we're told.
That's right. We looked at the video of the shuttle falling apart as it was re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. And when you keep in mind just how high this is, it was about 40 miles up, and that's about from here to Hillsborough. I mean, this is a long distance, traveling at several times the speed of sound.
Now, you'll be seeing parts of it, of course, falling away as debris rained down over all of this wide area. It smashed a rooftop, splashed into at least 1 reservoir, perhaps 2, and then sent emergency crews, as we've been reporting, on a far-flung hunt for bits of what was once Space Shuttle Columbia. We know that there are at least 600 sites where this debris has been found so far.
You know, and we have been encouraging people all day not to touch the debris, yet we've seen, even from Bennett's story, people trying to be helpful, picking up this debris, thinking that they're not going to be harmed because they're wearing gloves, and putting it in boxes, taping it up, and taking it to authorities. The point is, the authorities would rather go to it. So if you do see any of this debris, call the number on your screen, 1-800-525-5555 to report the debris that you found. Please don't pick it up, and take it to the authorities. Let the authorities come to it.
And just to bear some of that out, the Army today sent out some soldiers, some MP units. They're trying to locate and guard bits of this wreckage, and that could be pivotal in trying to determine the exact cause of this disaster. And again, we'll remind you that it is against the law for you to pick this stuff up and try to take it home.
Right, and again, these people might not be souvenir hunters, but they're trying to be helpful. The point is, though, it's best to just leave it alone.
The search for debris in Palestine has been taking place on the ground and in the air.
CBS 11's Jay Gormley is live from there with more. Jay?
Well, Palestinian officials say that most of the debris that they have recovered has come after people have called in information. And as you mentioned, it's important. They want people just to call in the information, not to approach to the debris. And so what they're going to do tonight is basically spend the rest of the evening securing the sites.
From high above, fighter jets photograph open fields looking for the remnants of Columbia. 6 military jets retrace the flight path in search of debris. And there's plenty to be found. On a ranch north of Palestine, charred debris litters a field. Ranch owner Tommy Davis watched as pieces fell to the ground.
Well, it was kind of in the southwest. It looked like a pretty good size piece because of the way the smoke screen was behind it. It was pretty good smoke, so it had to be a pretty good size piece falling.
This caution tape also marks more than just the debris. It also marks the memory of the fallen astronauts.
Behind me, you can see a large piece of the space shuttle that landed on the grass median along Highway 155 near Palestine. It'll show you how dangerously close that piece came from falling onto the road. Local law enforcement will spend this evening securing 55 different sites in Palestine where debris has fallen. The military will then move in to recover those pieces.
We'll have to call in some folks to help us tonight. Hopefully the folks with the volunteer fire departments and with the Texas Department of Public Safety can give us some assistance to secure these sites.
Finding all of the pieces may be impossible since much of it has already blended into the landscape. Now, at the beginning of our story, we showed you those military jets flying above looking for debris. At times during the day here in Palestine, there were actually no-fly zones that were put in place for local helicopters, police helicopters, and news helicopters. Reporting live from Palestine, Jay Gormley, CBS 11 News.
Debris from the shuttle has been found at the airport in Nacogdoches. CBS 11's Mark Johnson has more.
Good evening. I'm in front of the Nacogdoches Regional Airport where early this morning a very large chunk of debris from the shuttle was found very close to the runway. We're told that it was at least 5 feet long. We also know that that piece of debris has been taken away. Right now the regional airport is closed. We understand that scientists from NASA are to be landing here shortly. They, of course, are going to be coming in to take a look at some of the debris. Earlier today, we had an opportunity to talk to some property owners who've been finding debris all over their property. Jerry and Nancy Lowry have been scouring their Nacogdoches property since early Saturday morning.
Where is it now?
A rumble from the skies prompted their search.
We heard this noise like thunder, and it lasted maybe 10 or 15 seconds. Just like a rainy day.
Shortly after that, they heard of the shuttle tragedy on TV. Nancy was getting ready to go for a walk outside.
I heard something fall through the trees, and I thought it was just a limb off a tree falling. Sometimes when you're in the woods, you hear trees falling and stuff, dead trees. And that's what I thought it was.
And then we got to putting 2 and 2 together, and so we started looking around and found this big piece. Since then, we found a lot of little pieces scattered around over probably 25, 30 acres.
Some of the pieces are as small as a matchbox.
You can see the discoloration on it.
This one appears to be some sort of oxygen valve. The largest piece is this metal plate.
It had to come right through between that stub and this other one that lost all its bark.
Both have heavy hearts about the tragedy.
I think about the people that were killed and how terrible it must be for them.
That's saddening. It really is. To think of those 7 people that were lost there, and we feel just as bad as anybody. But nothing we could do about it. Here we are, and all we can do is identify the pieces and hope that NASA can put the story back together again, so it won't happen another time.
And we have some debris.
They've called local authorities and have been told to wait.
All she said was keep it secure.
Now, in addition to the debris that is being found on private property, we also understand that there are some people who are finding debris along roadways. And, of course, we've also heard about the large chunk of debris that was found near a bank in downtown Nacogdoches. Of course, we're having press releases and reports every 2 hours, and we will bring you the very latest. Reporting from Nacogdoches, Mark Johnson, CBS 11 News.
7 astronauts died today. Several of them had very strong connections to Texas. One of the astronauts on board, in fact, attended UT Arlington.
Mission specialist Kalpana Chawla received a Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering in 1984. CBS 11's J.D. Miles has more on Chawla from the UTA campus. J.D.
Karen, I'm told that UTA officials are already looking for a way to memorialize Kalpana Chawla, also known as KC, either with a building in her name or possibly a statue. She earned her master's degree here nearly 20 years ago, but continued to visit and give back to the university that today mourned her death. UTA is preparing for Engineering Week and touts the school's program as one of the best in the country with a strong international influence. Chawla received her master's in aerospace engineering in 1984 and in 1997 became the first native of India in space. The school promoted her recent trip on Columbia with a picture on UTA's website. And Chawla was scheduled to appear on a campus radio station next week on a live interview with Doug Maples, who today dedicated a song to her after witnessing the disaster.
Now, I wonder how she felt. Did she feel any pain? It's just awful. You know, we've just been through so many tragedies as a nation just recently. And this is a tragedy that was a little more closer to home for all of us. And it's just kind of sad. And we're going to miss her.
Academically, she was excellent, but she was also very bright and enthusiastic.
Now, Chawla spoke here as recently as 1998. She was extremely bright, according to the faculty, who also called her a warm, engaging personality. Now, she once talked about pressing her face up against the window of the shuttle and gazing with amazement at the view that only a few people ever get to experience. And we'll find out soon, hopefully, what the university plans to do, either with a memorial in her honor or some type of service in the coming days. Back to you, Tracy and Karen.
Thank you, J.D. The FBI is investigating possible shuttle debris found in Arlington. A homeowner discovered this baseball-sized object in the 2500 block of Monterey. Upon preliminary investigation, authorities say it appears to be a waxy substance consistent with a candle. But both federal and local authorities aren't taking any chances because shuttle debris can be toxic in nature. The immediate area was cordoned off until the FBI arrived.
We picked it up. And what we're going to do is, I believe the federal government, the FBI in particular, are going to take it back to their command post in Dallas, determine exactly what it is. We don't think it was a danger to the public, but we weren't sure.
Investigators say patches of a similar substance were discovered embedded in the street near where an object was found.
And residents who live north of Nacogdoches are also discovering a lot of debris. And CBS 11's Uma Pimaraju joins us live from Palestine with more on what she's been able to locate. Uma.
Well, Tracy, it's been a very sobering day here in Anderson County. We've been to a number of locations where debris was found. Police have been telling us they've had a tough time keeping up with all the calls about these sightings. As for the residents, many of them are having a tough time coping with the magnitude of this tragedy.
And as I was watching it, I could see it, that stuff was flying off, you know, exploding and flying off and shooting off to the side.
For so many people here, this was a day of disbelief and sadness. In this rural community, eyewitnesses describe what it was like as pieces of the shuttlecraft fell from the skies.
And I saw a big arc come over like this, and whenever it came over, I knew something wasn't quite right because things started falling from it. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I almost thought we'd been bombed.
Across fields and farms, pieces of debris lay on the ground. From charred tiles to metal objects, it was almost surreal finding these pieces nestled in these quiet pastures. Those who found remnants of what was once part of the Shuttle Columbia say they're filled with sorrow.
I don't know, I feel sorry for the people that were in it because, I mean, I know they all had families, but the only thing we can do is just pray for them. You know. It's sad.
Local authorities were kept busy with so many calls from people reporting fallen debris. Here at the Mount Alba Cafe, owner Serena Farmer says she has lots of customers who are stunned.
They have found many, many, many pieces around here. We have a lot of customers that just have kept coming in telling us about the pieces they have found. So it's been pretty exciting, but pretty scary. We're just grateful that nobody got hit, which is, when you consider all the pieces that have fallen in the area, that no one got hurt. It's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing indeed. Now, as nightfall approaches, it will be difficult to continue with the search operations, but plans are to begin search operations once again tomorrow morning. With such a wide area to cover, it will be a difficult task to continue with this operation for days, even weeks to come. Reporting live from Palestine, this is Uma Pemaraju, CBS 11 News.
The Columbia was just minutes away from landing at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
This was the view in Waco today as the shuttle broke up as it was flying about 39 miles over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Debris has been spotted across the state, but most of it seems to be in the Nacogdoches to Palestine area. The Nacogdoches County Sheriff's Department has been turned into a command center, and CBS 11's Bud Gillette has just returned from there and joins us now from the town square. Bud?
Well, Tracy, emergency officials now confirm they have found human debris, human remains rather, here in Nacogdoches County, but they haven't said exactly where at this time. They do tell us there have been 800 possible debris sites located, 500 of those just within the city of Nacogdoches itself. They also warned souvenir hunters that the Columbia is federal property, and if anyone is tempted to keep part of it, the FBI could come calling. Officials are using a global positioning system to track potential debris sites. Overall, they say it's 100 miles long and 10 miles wide. About 40 miles of that ribbon runs through Nacogdoches County, and about half the property here, we're told, has expected debris fallout. Amazingly, people are still handling debris.